Picture this, you're binge watching your favorite 80s show on a streaming service, living your best nostalgic life, when suddenly you realize, wait, where did that character go? One episode they're cracking jokes at the dinner table, the next they vanished into the Bermuda Triangle of television writing. But here's the twist. One of these disappearances wasn't just mysterious, it was downright scandalous, involving religious pressure, Playboy drama, and a teen heartthrob's moral crisis that changed television forever. And one beloved boyfriend disappeared from America's favorite family faster than pizza at a Tanner family dinner. Today, we're counting down 10 characters who pulled the ultimate Houdini act, leaving us with more questions than a geometry pop quiz. So crack open a Crystal Pepsi and let's dive into the most mysterious disappearances in television history. Number 10. Judy Winslow from Family Matters. Family Matters started as a wholesome family sitcom focusing on the working-class Winslow clan in Chicago. Originally a spin-off from Perfect Strangers, it was meant to showcase family values and everyday struggles. Then Steve Urkel showed up as a one-off guest character and accidentally became the breakout star, transforming the entire show into the Urkel Show practically overnight. Starting off our list is Judy Winslow, the youngest member of the Winslow family, played by Jamie Foxworth. She was your typical precocious little sister, cute, occasionally bratty, and the kind of kid who asked uncomfortable questions at dinner. For the first few seasons, she held her own against the chaos of having Steve Urkel constantly crashing through their front door. After the 4th season, Judy simply wasn't there. No explanation, no she's at camp or boarding school, nothing. The show went from 3 Winslow kids to 2, and everyone just pretended like Judy never existed. Even Steve Urkel couldn't "did I do that" his way out of this one. The family literally got smaller and nobody mentioned it. Behind the scenes, budget cuts led to Foxworth being let go, and the writers decided the easiest solution was to pretend she never existed. As Urkel mania took over, the show needed more money for special effects and slapstick comedy, so the youngest Winslow got the axe. Number 9. Richie Cunningham's older brother Chuck. Happy Days. Happy Days was the ultimate nostalgia machine, taking 70s audiences back to the simpler times of the 1950s. Set in Milwaukee, it followed the all-American Cunningham family and their interactions with the coolest guy in town, Arthur Fonzie Fonzarelli. Originally focused on teenager Richie Cunningham navigating high school life, the show became a cultural phenomenon that defined what we thought the 50s were like, even if it wasn't entirely accurate. Chuck Cunningham was Richie's older brother in the early seasons. Supposedly, this basketball star all-American type who represented everything a 1950s teenage boy should aspire to be. He was played by Gavin O'Herlihy initially, then briefly by Randolph Roberts. Chuck was meant to be the responsible older sibling, the one the parents could point to and say, "Why can't you be more like your brother?" Then, one day, Chuck went upstairs to his room and never came back down. The character completely disappeared after season 2 with no explanation whatsoever. The Cunninghams went from 3 kids to 2 and no one ever mentioned Chuck again. Not at family dinners, not at graduations, not even when they needed someone tall to reach something from a high shelf. This became so infamous that Chuck Cunningham syndrome is now the official term for when a character disappears without explanation. The writers simply decided they didn't need him anymore. Richie and Joni were enough to carry the family dynamic, especially once Fonzie became the breakout star. Number 8. Seven from Married with Children. Married with Children was the anti-family sitcom, a deliberate middle finger to shows like The Cosby Show and Family Ties. It followed the perpetually broke, perpetually dysfunctional Bundy family. Al, the failed high school football star turned shoe salesman, Peg, his lazy bonbon-eating wife, and their 2 awful children, Kelly and Bud. The show was controversial, groundbreaking, and absolutely hilarious in its commitment to showing the American family at its absolute worst. In season 7, the Bundy family suddenly had a new addition. A kid named Seven, played by Shane Sweet. He was supposed to be the streetwise orphan that the Bundys inexplicably took in, which already made about as much sense as Al Bundy volunteering at a charity. The character was clearly meant to inject new energy into the show and give the family someone even more helpless to abuse. Seven lasted exactly 7 episodes before vanishing without a trace. No adoption agency came to get him, no family reunion, no social services intervention. He just stopped existing, like he was a fever dream. The Bundys went back to their original foursome, and no one ever mentioned their brief foster child again. The behind-the-scenes story? The audience hated the character, and the writers quickly realized that adding a kid to a show about dysfunctional adults was like adding vegetables to a candy bar. Technically, you could do it, but why would you? The show worked because of its tight family dysfunction, not because it needed more chaos. Number 7. Dana Lambert from Too Close for Comfort. At number 7, we have Dana Lambert, the younger daughter on Too Close for Comfort. Played by Dina Freeman initially, she was the sweet, innocent counterpart to her boy-crazy sister Jackie. Dana was there for the first season, being adorable and teenagery, and then gone. The character was recast and then eventually written out entirely as the show shifted focus. The official explanation was that she went to live with relatives, but it was delivered so casually you'd think she was just going to the corner store for milk. Behind the scenes, the show was struggling with what to do with the younger daughter character, and budget constraints made the decision easier. Plus, let's be honest, the show was really about Ted Knight's character being neurotic about his daughter's dating, and one daughter was more than enough for that premise. Number 6. Steve Hale from Full House. Full House was more than just a sitcom. It was a cultural phenomenon that dominated Friday nights on ABC and became the gold standard for family-friendly television. The show about a widowed father, a corny one at that, raising 3 daughters with help from his brother-in-law and best friend became appointment television for families across America, launching careers and creating catchphrases that are still quoted today. Steve Hale, played by Scott Weiner, wasn't just DJ Tanner's boyfriend. He was practically the 8th member of the Tanner household. Introduced in season 6 as the wrestling team captain with a legendary appetite, Steve quickly became a fan favorite who appeared in over 20 episodes across 2 seasons. He wasn't a casual love interest, he was there for family dinners, holiday episodes, and major storylines, becoming Danny's reluctant surrogate son and the perfect foil to the Tanner family's wholesome chaos. Steve's relationship with DJ was the show's first serious teenage romance, and audiences loved watching the sweet, food-obsessed jock navigate the Tanner family dynamics while literally eating them out of house and home. He was there for DJ's junior prom, helped with Michelle's storylines, and even had his own character development beyond just being the boyfriend. So what happened to the guy who seemed destined to become an official Tanner? Between season 7 and season 8, Steve Hale vanished completely. No breakup episode, no dramatic goodbye, no explanation for why the guy who'd been eating Thanksgiving dinner with the family suddenly disappeared from their lives forever. DJ got one throwaway line about them breaking up over the summer, and that was it. Steve Hale became Full House history. So what happened? Scott Weiner had just landed the voice acting role of Aladdin in Disney's animated blockbuster, which became a career-defining opportunity that led to multiple Disney projects and a lucrative long-term contract. The Disney work was not only more prestigious than his Full House reoccurring role, but it also offered better pay and the chance to be part of what would become one of Disney's biggest animated successes. Today, Weiner is best known as the voice of Aladdin across multiple Disney projects, including the original films, sequels, TV series, and various Disney theme park attractions. He also became a successful television writer and producer, working on shows like The Steve Harvey Show and What I Like About You. While Full House fans still remember him fondly as Steve Hale, you can't blame the guy for chasing even bigger opportunities. Number 5. Maggie Lauten from Growing Pains. Growing Pains was the quintessential 90s family sitcom, following psychiatrist Jason Seaver, who moved his practice home so he could watch the kids while his wife Maggie returned to journalism. The show perfectly captured Reagan-era family values with a modern twist. Dad as the sensitive, hands-on parent while mom pursued her career. It launched Kirk Cameron into teen heartthrob status and gave us countless life lessons wrapped in wholesome family comedy. Maggie Lauten was Ben Seaver's girlfriend in the early seasons. Played by Julia McCullough, she was the sweet, understanding girlfriend who somehow put up with Ben's get-rich-quick schemes and the general chaos of living in the Seaver household. McCullough brought a natural charm to the role, and her chemistry with Jeremy Miller's Ben made their teenage relationship feel genuine and relatable. Then suddenly, Maggie was gone. No breakup episode or dramatic teenage goodbye. She just stopped appearing. And Ben moved on to other love interests like nothing had happened. One week she was helping Ben with another harebrained scheme. The next week she might as well have never existed. Behind the scenes, Julie McCullough was released from the show reportedly due to pressure from Kirk Cameron, who had become a born-again Christian and was uncomfortable with her Playboy modeling background. This was the scandalous disappearance I mentioned earlier. A teen star's religious awakening literally wrote a character out of existence and an actress out of a job. Number 4. Denise Huxtable from The Cosby Show. The Cosby Show was the ultimate 80s family sitcom, showcasing the upper-middle-class Huxtable family and redefining how black families were portrayed on television. It was appointment television that dominated Thursday nights and launched countless careers. Coming in at number 4, Denise Huxtable was the free-spirited second daughter played by Lisa Bonet. She was the artistic, rebellious one who marched to her own drummer. The kind of teenager who wore vintage clothes before it was cool and had opinions about, well, everything. Denise left for college and got her own spin-off, A Different World. Then she briefly returned to The Cosby Show as a married woman, and then just disappeared again. Behind the scenes, creative differences in Bonet's evolving image, including some controversial magazine shoots, led to tension, Rather than address it on screen, the writer just stopped mentioning their second oldest daughter. Funny enough, the show that prided itself on family togetherness somehow forgot one of their own kids. Number 3. Coach from Cheers. Cheers was the neighborhood bar where everyone knows your name, and it became one of the most beloved sitcoms of the 80s. Set in a Boston bar, it perfectly captured working-class camaraderie and the kind of place where people want to escape their problems. Coach, played by Nicholas Colasanto, was the sweet, absent-minded bartender who served as Sam Malone's mentor and father figure. He was the heart of the bar, kind, loyal, and just confused enough to be endearing. Then Coach just stopped appearing. Sadly, Nicholas Colasanto had died during production, and the show initially didn't address his absence on screen. Coach simply wasn't there anymore, leaving viewers wondering what happened to the beloved character. The show later dedicated episodes to Coach's memory, but initially handled his absence by just not mentioning it. Maybe they just didn't know what to say. Number 2. Lionel Jefferson from All in the Family / The Jeffersons. At number 2, we have Lionel Jefferson, a main character who appeared on both All in the Family and The Jeffersons, originally played by Mike Evans. He was George Jefferson's son and provided much of the show's heart as the reasonable voice in a family of big personalities. After Mike Evans left The Jeffersons, the character was recast by Damon Evans. No relation. But then Damon Evans was fired, and instead of recasting again, Lionel just vanished. One season he was there, the next he wasn't. Behind the scenes, there were conflicts between Damon Evans and the producers leading to his dismissal. But rather than deal with the situation narratively, the writers chose to simply ignore the character's existence entirely. Number 1. Amy Amanda Allen from the A-Team. The A-Team was the ultimate 80s action fantasy. Following 4 Vietnam veterans who operated as soldiers of fortune while evading military police who wanted them for a crime they didn't commit, Hannibal, Face, B.A., and Murdoch became household names as they helped the innocent while staying one step ahead of Colonel Decker. The show dominated Tuesday nights and made the van with the red stripe one of the most recognizable vehicles in television history. Coming in at number 1, Amy Amanda Allen was the investigative reporter who literally launched the A-Team's vigilante career in the pilot episode, and remained a major character throughout season 1. Played by Melinda Kulia, Amy wasn't just a client or love interest, she was supposed to be the team's connection to the outside world and their moral compass, providing both intel and emotional grounding for the military misfits. Amy was there for the team's formation, helped establish their operating procedures, and appeared in most of season 1's episodes as an integral part of the group dynamic. She was the one who convinced them to help people, found their cases, and served as the bridge between their military past and civilian present. Then suddenly, Amy vanished completely between seasons. No farewell episode or explanation, no Amy got a job in another city. The character who had been integral to the team's formation and early missions simply stopped existing, replaced by Tanya Baker with zero acknowledgement of Amy's previous importance. So, what really happened? Behind the scenes, Melinda Kulia had grown increasingly frustrated with how the writers were handling her character. Despite being hired as a strong female lead who would be equal to the men, Amy was progressively regulated to damsel in distress roles, where she'd get kidnapped, need rescuing, or stand on the sidelines while the guys did all the actual work. Kulia clashed repeatedly with producers Stephen J. Canel and Frank Lupo about the sexist direction of her character, and was ultimately fired for being difficult when she continued pushing for better storylines and more substantial involvement in the action sequences. Hey, but kudos to her for standing up for herself and advocating for strong female representation in action television a full decade before girl power became a cultural movement. And there you have it, 10 characters who mastered the art of the Irish goodbye before it was even cool. The 1980s were a simpler time for television, when continuity was more of a suggestion than rule, and character development sometimes meant developing them right out of existence. These disappearances remind us that 80s TV was all about living in the moment. Why bog down a perfectly good sitcom with pesky things like character consistency or acknowledging that people existed, when you could just pretend they never happened? So next time you're watching your favorite retro show and wondering, hey, what happened to that person? Just remember, they didn't disappear. They just took an extended trip to the same place where all those 80 hairstyles went. Which of these shows did you watch religiously? Did you ever notice these actors vanish? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgic deep dives into the beautiful weirdness of television history. Until next time, keep watching, and keep your eyes out for the missing actors of today.